Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Bex here today to talk about the 10 books that I am most looking forward to getting to in 2023. I am not one of those people that does 23 books for 2023 because I don't read enough in the year to do that to myself, but my parameters for this are that it has to be books that I already have on my TBR shelf, and when I look at my shelf, what books am I most drawn to reading right now, and therefore hopefully through the rest of the upcoming year. So if you're curious to see what I'm really looking forward to reading in 2023, keep watching. The first book on my list is Complications, A Surgeon's Notes on an Imperfect Science by Atul Gawande. This will be my third Gawande book. I read Better at the beginning of last year and really enjoyed it. And then a few years before that, I read Being Mortal, which is one of the best nonfiction books I have ever read. I really enjoy medical nonfiction, and so this one is going to look at medicine and surgery, and specifically the power and limits that medicine has, at least as of the publication of this book. This is at least 10 years old now. Oh, this is 20 years old. It was published in 2002. So it's possible that some of the things discussed in this have evolved a bit since then, but still, what I love about his books is that he uses specific patient stories to illustrate what he's talking about. And so I really enjoy that angle of medical nonfiction. So I'm really looking forward to picking this one up, and hopefully I will like it as much, if not more, than his other books. Number 2 on this list is a brand new book. I haven't even hauled it yet, so you're getting a sneak peek, and that is To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. This was a book that I received for Secret Santa at work. It was on my little wish list that we were allowed to create, and because the limit is $25, you can't get many brand new books for $25 these days, but this one, it's a cute little novella, so this was perfect. So I got this, and I was really happy about that because it's something that I've been really curious about. I haven't read a Becky Chambers book before, but I know she writes a lot of kind of sci-fi books that are often very reflective and sort of soft, not super intense necessarily, and so I wanted to check out this standalone one. We follow a character. It's in the turn of the 22nd century, and at this point humans are out and about trying to find other habitable planets, and so our main character is one of those people doing that, but she's also reflecting on how things will have changed back on Earth by the time she gets back there. And I do enjoy books that take place in space. I like movies that take place in space too, so I really wanted to check this out. So I'm really glad that my Secret Santa got this for me. Next I have Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the second book in the Nevermore series. I read the first one almost 2 years ago now, so I'm feeling like I should probably pick up the next one before I completely forget everything that happens. This is a middle grade series, and in the first book our character finds out that she can try out to be in this wondrous society. She lives with a family that really doesn't seem to appreciate her, and so it's a way for her to get away from her kind of horrible family and live this new life in this really cool place. And so I enjoyed the elements of the book in terms of like the magical world that she's in, and although I didn't love all of the characters, I particularly had issues with Jupiter, who's sort of like the main person who whisks her away. I'm still curious to see where the story goes. I obviously can't say too much about this plot because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else who has not picked up the first book and is still looking to do so, but I am ready to be whisked back into this magical world. This one is a bit of a different choice in terms of my reasoning behind it. I have also added The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis to this list. Now, the reason this is on here is not so much because I'm super excited to read this book. It's because I'm excited to read the book and then watch the film adaptation and make a book-to-movie video about it. I've done that for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian already. I'm rereading these books for the first time since I was about 9 years old, and I am experiencing them in a very different way, in the sense that I'm not loving the books, but I'm really enjoying the process of then watching the films and comparing them and putting in that effort into those videos. I feel very satisfied when they're complete, so I'm looking forward to reading this, watching the film, putting that video together, and then feeling very satisfied. This is the third book that was published in the series, although it's technically fifth chronologically, and this one has not all of the Pevensey children anymore. It's just Edmund and Lucy, and then we also have Prince Caspian reappearing, and then of course their cousin Eustace, and this has one of the best opening lines of any book, really. There was a boy called Eustace Clarence Scrubb, and he almost deserved it. Then going in the complete opposite direction, I have The Book of Edda by Meg Ellison. This is part of the Road to Nowhere series. If you have heard of or read the Book of the Unnamed Midwife, that's the first book in this series, but this is technically a companion. I really enjoyed the first book. Like, it was so dark, but very realistic, and it sucked me in. It was a 4.5 out of 5. The only reason it wasn't a 5 is because I found the writing to be a bit shaky at points, but as far as I know, it was her debut novel, so yeah, she did a really good job. And so this one, I've heard, is not quite as gripping, maybe, and doesn't suck you in the same way the first one does, but I'm hoping maybe there'll be a bit of an improvement with the writing style, and I'm just curious to dive back into this sort of dystopia sci-fi existence in which there is a disease that sweeps through the nation or the world, and it kills a lot of women, and then it also makes childbirth very dangerous for the mother and the baby. And so it's like, can the human race continue on? And so this one is taking place a bit after the events of the first book. The first book is very much right after things happen, where I think this one is many years in the future. I'm not quite sure how many. I'd have to refresh my memory on that. But either way, I'm very curious to see where she takes this new world after it has been a bit of time, and like, how has society learned to deal with what has happened. The book that I would say I'm most excited to read next year is Personal Effects: What Recovering the Dead Teaches Me About Caring for the Living by Robert A. Jensen. Jensen is the owner of a disaster management company, which is basically a company that goes in to help after a particularly large disaster has happened. Think Oklahoma City bombing, think 9/11, that sort of level, and he assists with the gathering of personal belongings, bodies, and helping bring those things back to the person's family. So it's a very intense job, and in this memoir, Jensen reflects on how he got to that point and uses stories from being in the field to, help talk about what he's done. And I just think that's such a curious and unique perspective to have on horrible things that happen to the human race. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he has to say in here and how he relates it back to bigger questions, I guess, about, living and life in general. This one is a book that I'm borrowing from my sister, and it is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is a thriller mystery book. It was really popular a number of years ago on BookTube. A lot of people were reading it and getting it confused with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Those two books were very popular at the same time. And I have already read Evelyn Hugo, but I haven't read this one yet, and I am curious to try it out. It is a book in which you are following one particular character, and there is a murder, but each day in this book, the character that you're following wakes up in another person's body from a group of people that were present when this one character died. And so you are trying to figure out who killed this character by hopping into other characters' bodies or their perspectives of what happened on that day. So it'll be a bit repetitive, I imagine, but that's just the nature of this story. But yeah, my sister really liked it, and I generally heard positive things when this was super popular, so I'm still interested in checking it out. Third to last, I have Ace: What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. I don't think I would have necessarily heard about this book if it wasn't for BookTube, so I'm very happy that it's been popping up on my feed. Asexuality as an identity, I really do feel gets pushed to the side still. For example, this summer I was taking a diversity, equity, and inclusion course through work. It was voluntary, but I was really curious to see what was in there and how they related it back to the workplace. And one of the things that they said when they were talking about LGBTQIA and what those stood for, they said the A stood for ally. And I was like, what? Excuse me? Like, no. So I ended up having to comment on that in the like comments area of that particular section that I was going through because I was so shocked. It's like, no, that's not what it stands for. It stands for asexual. It stands for ace people. And so, yeah, that just reinforces the fact that I need to read this book. And this is written by somebody who identifies as ace. And so I'm really curious to see her perspective on the world, being an asexual individual, and how that affects everything with society, because there is so much that in society that is very like sexual and sex-based. So yeah, very curious to dig into this one. The penultimate book on my list is The Skin We're In, A Year of Black Resistance and Power by Desmond Cole. This is written by a Black Canadian author, and it focuses on Canada in the year 2017 and how Black people were treated during that particular year. The reason he's focusing on 2017 is because that's the 150th anniversary of Canada as a country, and so it's significant to see how things have changed and not changed in all of those years. And I imagine it will bring up some things that will make me and other readers a bit uncomfortable, but it's a book that I have really wanted to read. It's not very long, but I managed to find it at the library book sale that I went to in the fall. And so I was so excited when I was able to grab this beautiful edition of this book. And yeah, it'll be a bit of a tough read at times, I'm sure, but it'll also be something that is important for me to read. The last book on this list has me stepping away from some more intense nonfiction to finish things up with a fun sci-fi read. So this is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I have heard lots of good things about this. I read The Martian way back in the day, and I enjoyed it. In this one, we have our main character, Ryland, who wakes up, and I believe his co-workers, the other people on the ship, are dead, and so he's all alone. He has to figure out what he's gonna do. There's, maybe some other bigger problems about like saving the human race and whatnot, so it's gonna get pretty intense. But I'm looking forward to this fun ride, knowing that The Martian was quite fun, and although I love the humor most of the time, sometimes it was a little much for me. I felt it translated really well into the film. So I have those thoughts in mind. And so I'm gonna go in with high hopes for this one, and that it will suck me in and I'll really enjoy it as much as I did enjoy The Martian when I originally read it. All right, those are the 10 books that I really want to get to. If you have read any of them and you would like to share your thoughts, please feel free to do so in the comments down below. As always, all of our links are in the down bar. You can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you later.